If you think Santorini is just sunsets and white domes, think again. Beneath this Instagram paradise lies another city, one that thrived 3,600 years ago, with multi-story houses, painted walls, even indoor plumbing. Then, overnight, it vanished in one of the largest eruptions in human history. Archaeologists uncovered streets, temples, frescoes still glowing with color, yet not a single human body. So where did everyone go? And why do people keep coming back to the rim of this explosive volcano? Once you know its origins, you'll never travel the same way again. If you've ever dreamed of watching the sun set over Santorini, or wondered what secrets lie beneath the places we travel, this journey is for you. In this video, we'll walk the buried streets of Akrotiri, step inside its kitchens and workshops, and witness the eruption that erased it from the map. We'll explore why no human remains were ever found, the whispers that link it to Atlantis, and the reason people keep coming back to live on this volcanic edge. This isn't just a trip to Greece. It's a journey through time. At Waypoint Origins, we take the destinations you thought you knew and reveal the hidden stories that changed them forever. Long before whitewashed villas and sunset cocktails, this island was known as Strongili, the round one. Around 5,000 years ago, small bands of farmers and fishermen crossed the Aegean from Crete and the coasts of Anatolia, drawn here by promise and possibility. Scientists suggest the island was not the broken crescent we see today, but a near-perfect circle, a continuous wall of dark volcanic cliffs enclosing a shallow inner bay. Only a narrow mouth, near what is now Aspronisi, allowed water to flow in and out of this quiet lagoon. The volcanic earth was rich and dark, perfect for barley, wheat and lentils. Vines thrived in the ash, producing wines so prized they traveled across the Mediterranean. Shards of obsidian, sharp as a blade, were traded for goods from faraway Egypt and Cyprus. Perhaps the greatest gift was the island's geography. The sheltered interior of this smaller caldera may have offered anchorage for small boats, but the first settlers chose the south-facing shoreline as their home, where a natural harbor shielded boats from the worst Aegean winds. To those first settlers, it felt like destiny. They could not know that the very volcano which gave them fertile land and shelter would one day turn their paradise into a tomb. By the 2nd millennium BCE, Strongili had a thriving Minoan port city, Akrotiri. 3-story houses leaned over lanes barely an arm's width wide, their stone walls laced with timber to protect from earthquakes, their rooms lit by vertical light wells. Some homes even had upstairs bathrooms with plumbing that dropped through clay pipes in the walls and down into covered street sewers. Clever venting and a simple water barrier kept the smells contained to the pipes. These comforts would not be popularized until the Roman Empire 15 centuries later, and Europe wouldn't standardize again until the plumbing revolution of the 1800s. And everywhere, painted artwork, also called frescoes, dolphins racing across blue water, saffron gatherers on volcanic slopes, boxers mid-stride. These weren't tucked away in palaces. They colored ordinary rooms and public walls. Beauty wasn't a luxury. It was the backdrop of life. Above the harbor, terraced farms fed the town. Barley and emmer for bread, lentils and chickpeas for stews, vines for wine, olives for oil, fish and octopus from the caldera below. The surplus didn't sit long. It filled amphorae bound for far-off ports, traded for copper, tin, and the extras a port city craves. That flow of goods is the heartbeat you still feel here today. Vineyards combing the black ash, cliffside lanes riding the caldera rim, boats threading the same blue water. Akrotiri wasn't a village, it was a crossroads. And just when it felt most secure, the island began to whisper again. Along the Akrotiri docks, crews load amphorae of wine and olive oil, sealed baskets of saffron, bundles of woven cloth, pottery, and pumice, while incoming hulls deliver copper ingots from Cyprus, the lifeblood of Bronze Age craft. This wasn't just a port, it was an industry. A confident city, rich, connected, and comfortable, right up to the moment the island woke up. The warnings came softly at first. A shiver through the floor, a rattle of jars. The air carried a bitter tang, like struck flint and sulfur. At night, a dull red smoldered on the horizon. By day, the sea felt restless against the quays. Akrotiri knew earthquakes. They built for them. Timber-laced walls, tight stairs, streets that drained like channels. But volcanoes? They had no science for magma or ash columns. They read signs. Animals uneasy. New cracks in stone. Water turning cloudy. Priests watched for omens. Captains watched the winds. Families waited. Like the eruption of Mount Vesuvius nearly 1,700 years later, they may not have grasped what was coming. But unlike Vesuvius, where excavations at Pompeii uncovered over 1,000 victims, Akrotiri holds a stranger truth. When this place was finally excavated in 1967, archaeologists found walls, murals, and a single gold ibex. Not one human body. So, where did everyone go? When Santorini finally erupted, it didn't just end a city. It remade the island. In one of the largest eruptions in human history. It began with towering columns of ash and pumice punching into the sky. For hours that became days, stones fell like hail, roofs sagged, midday dimmed toward twilight. The eruption is modeled to have lasted 2 to 3 days, lofting ash high enough to touch the stratosphere. As the magma chamber emptied, the island's middle gave way. Cliffs sheared, the floor of the lagoon fell, shorelines shifted. The near-perfect ring, broken. The center collapses into the sea, and the familiar crescent of modern Santorini took shape. Water drew back from the shore, harbors emptied, as walls of water spread out across the Aegean. Waves radiated toward nearby islands as far as Crete. Across Thera, ash piled into heaps and hills, tens of meters deep in places, locally up to approximately 60 meters, turning streets and stairwells into a 3-dimensional time capsule. Out at the edges of the world, the eruption left its fingerprint in distant records, far from the Aegean. Signals that tell us this was more than a local disaster. In the months that followed, skies dimmed. Seasons lasted years or never came at all. It was an event that shook trade, killed harvests, and changed lives across the sea. So if this was the scale, why don't we find people, like Pompeii, frozen where they fell? The answer may lie in how sophisticated the society was that once lived here. They may have read the signs and understood what was coming. Evidence inside Akrotiri suggests rooms were still set for tomorrow, pointing to an orderly evacuation. Shops shuttered, homes sealed, not as farewells, but as promises to return to their island paradise. But the Bronze Age eruption made return impossible. Beyond the collapsed caldera, ash and pumice remade the coast, pushing the southwest shoreline seaward and redrawing Santorini overnight. Across the Aegean, The shockwaves were more than geological. Fleets were damaged, coastal sites battered, trade routes snarled. Within a century, the balance of power shifted. The people of Akrotiri were no longer at the center of a trading network. Influence tilted toward Mycenaean rulers on Crete and the mainland. The center of gravity moved, and an era dimmed. Centuries later, Plato told of a brilliant maritime power, arranged in rings of land and sea, destroyed in a single terrible day and night. Atlantis. The echoes are hard to miss. A circular island split, a seaborne culture undone, advanced comforts buried in ash. Inspiration isn't proof, but memory sometimes wears the clothes of myth. People returned to the rim of the caldera, carved lanes along the cliffs, planted vines in black earth, and built their lives again on the lip of a living volcano. The question isn't only how Akrotiri ended, it's why, across millennia, we keep choosing this edge. It was Dorian Greeks, colonists from Sparta, who re-established life on the island, founding a ridgetop settlement on Mesa Vuno, between the two beaches that still bustle today, Kamari and Parissa. According to tradition, their leader was Thera, and the name stuck. Through antiquity, the island was known as Thera, a name that remains the official term in Greece today. Centuries rolled on. After the Fourth Crusade in 1204, Venetian power reached the Aegean, and the island entered a Latin chapter. Venetian sailors dedicated it to Saint Irene. Greeks knew her as Aia Irene. A sailor's shorthand fused the two across maps and chronicles, and the blend stuck. Santorini, even as Thera endured at home. And that's the pattern. Ruin, return, renaming, yet always rebuilding. Vineyards learn the wind, houses cling to the cliff, and life organizes itself around a vast blue void that was once the heart of a mountain. The myth may be debated, the dates may be argued, but the pull is obvious. Beauty is worth the risk. Which brings us back to today. When you watch the sun fall into the caldera, you're standing in a story written in ash and retold in stone. Thera to Santorini, Bronze Age to now. Proof that even on the edge, people find a way to stay. If this journey lit up your curiosity, click here to explore more histories hidden beneath our favorite places. More lost cities, more clues in plain sight, more travel that changes how you see the map. Before you go, tap like, subscribe, and turn on the bell so you don't miss the next story. Drop a comment with your take on Akrotiri's missing people, orderly escape, or something we haven't considered yet. And if someone you know loves Greece or great mysteries, share this so they can join us on our next Waypoint.